How's it, guys? Welcome to another episode on the Reality Shift Show. Today, we are interviewing the founder of Virtual Actuary, and his name is Adi Kaimowitz, and it's an absolute honor to have him on the show today.
I decided to pivot the recruitment business and open a brand new business in the actuary consulting space. And this is where Virtual Actuary was born, and we're an actuary consulting firm that services clients in the insurance and banking and investments space. So that's kind of how we entered the market. And now, within 3 years, we've built over 70 million Rand to date. And, we're heading towards a 45 million Rand revenue year. And that's because we have a great product, actuaries. And then we also develop insurtech. So we've also developed software. So our website is virtualactuary.com. On Instagram, we are at Virtual Actuary. On Twitter, we're at Virtual Actuary. On everything, we're at Virtual Actuary.
Louis bag. But they ballin', but clearly they cannot do it yet. Give me your shorty, I'll show you just.
This episode is sponsored by AROS, developing practical programming and computer-led skills with mentorship-led bootcamps. If you are looking to upskill and future-proof yourself, be sure to head on to www.aros.co.za, your partners in innovating South Africa.
How's it, guys? Welcome to another episode on the Reality Shift Show. Today, we are interviewing the founder of Virtual Actuary, and his name is Adi Kaimowitz, and it's an absolute honor to have him on the show today. We're going to be going into everything from personal to business, his journey, and to disruptive innovation within virtual accuracy. And I can't wait to get into it. Adi, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Literally, I'm the one that's honored. I mean, you got a lovely show that you do. It's an innovative show. It's a meaningful show. And I'm the honored one to be here. So thank you.
Yeah. I know we spoke, a bit early on, and you told me a bit about your journey and, and to coming into the space that you're in now. So I would like you to just give a synopsis as to who you are, how you grew up, and you came into, the virtual actuary space.
Thanks so much. So I'm now in my early 40s. I'm 42. So I'm a little bit older than, but actually they say that the most successful startups are the early 40-year-olds and not the 20-somethings. So that's great. And I spent the last sort of 15 to 20 years working in various companies.
Yeah.
And I've worked in advertising. I've worked in the chemical products space. I've worked in the publishing space. I've worked in the rail freight space. I've worked in the recruitment space. So I guess, over the years, I worked in a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
And my dream was always to work with amazing people.
Yeah.
That was always my dream.
Yeah.
And so in sort of my mid to late 20s, I got a lot of experience working in a lot of different companies.
Yeah.
And then in my early 30s, I opened up my own recruitment business because I got a job in recruitment, and then I opened up my own recruitment business because the company that I was working at, the recruitment business, before that, they recruited actuaries. And then actuaries are like super accountants, if you want to know what an actuary is. They work in insurance and banking and pensions and healthcare and investments. And I opened my own recruitment business. And then in 2015, I decided to move past recruitment, still in the actuary space. And then after 2 years of planning and thinking, and a couple of different ideas, I decided to pivot the recruitment business and open a brand new business in the actuary consulting space. And this is where Virtual Actuary was born. And we're an actuary consulting firm that services clients in the insurance and banking and investments space.
Yeah. So let's dive into virtual accuracy. Let's dive into the whole network, the ecosystem, what it is that you guys are doing, what is your competitive advantage, and let's dive into that.
Thank you. So who uses actuaries? You get the big insurers, they use actuaries. You get the pension fund administrators, the healthcare companies, the investment houses, the banks. Actuaries work across the board in these businesses, and they do various things from product development and pricing to reporting and a lot of the regulatory stuff and everything in between. So sometimes you also get actuaries that are consulting actuaries. So they don't work in those businesses, they consult with those businesses. So those businesses will hire consulting actuaries because maybe they need a specialized team or they want to launch some products and they don't have the in-house actuaries. So they'll just partner up and outsource some of the work to an actuary consulting business. So there's normally the big four that everyone knows, and there's a couple of smaller players. So we decided to open an actuary consulting business. What made us a little bit different when we started was that we decided that the actuaries that work in the business would be part of what we call a shared revenue model. So instead of them being employees in the business that are on salaries with the company taking most of the profits, we formed a consortium, an organized collaborative of actuaries where we would go out and get work as a virtual actuary, and we would do the work. And depending on who's on that project, when the clients pay at the end of each month, because most of our projects are ongoing, 1 year, 2 year, and ongoing. When the clients pay at the end of the month, the actuaries would split the revenue.
Okay.
That changes their earning ability. In fact, they earn double with us than they would earn anywhere else.
Yeah.
Mainly because they get over 82% of the revenue. That's a lot. And so we operate as a consortium. And then also our business is a more digital consulting business. So yes, we do have physical actuaries inside the offices of the clients, or we used to, at least before lockdown, but we more so digitized the engagement process by operating as a lean business that uses technology to digitize the process. And in that way, we're able to not have so many fixed expenses. So we don't have the rental, we don't have the office space, we don't have the massive HR staff, we don't have a massive marketing department and massive legal departments. So we outsource that stuff when we need it, which means that cost saving means that we can offer the clients that use the services, the big insurers and the reinsurers and the banks, the same level of service that they're used to at a significantly reduced rate because we just operate as a lean business. So that's kind of how we entered the market. And now, within 3 years, we've built over 70 million Rand to date. And, we're heading towards a 45 million Rand revenue year. And that's because we have a great product, actuaries. And then we also develop insurtech. So we've also developed software.
Okay, talk to me a bit about the software and the tech.
Well, within all of the clients that we work in, they use software. They use various tools and models to calculate with the pricing of their products or to design their products. And the regulator needs to be able to interact with that software. And so ultimately, they're software using businesses. So some of the processes that somewhat older software programs to develop models and software that improves the efficiency and the speed of those processes.
Okay.
So we've developed that software. We've introduced it into some of our clients. They're using it. And I think we're about probably 2 years in with quite big clients using that software on some of their processes. So they get a cost reduction in how long it takes to get the final result, but then they also get a more efficient product that can do a lot more. And so yeah, we're actually like an insurtech factory. So now we're taking those products globally, and we have some global clients. So that's kind of like us as a business in a nutshell.
Yeah. So what I really wanted to ask was, and it's a fixture and it's current to our time now, is how has COVID-19, the lockdown, affected virtual actuary, and and how has the transition been for you guys? How that's basically the dimension. I'd love to dive into that.
Okay, it's a great question, and interesting times.
Yeah.
So we were relatively unaffected,
okay,
from an expense perspective, because we didn't have massive brick and mortar offices, and a lot of our actuaries were used to interacting together digitally.
Yeah.
So we use programs like Slack, which just had a great acquisition, and programs like Zoom and some other shared collaboration tools that allow us to work together. We use Amazon Web Services. They are our partner for cloud computing. So back in the day, you would have needed a big, inexpensive server in the basement. We use AWS.
Okay.
They've allowed us to compete with the big firms. So when COVID-19 kicked in, the clients obviously had a shock. And a lot of our actuaries were working inside the client's offices, but ultimately everyone's working on laptops. And so they could just go home and work from home. And then the meetings just happened more virtually. So we always had a vision that the world was going to be more virtual. So we set up the whole business that when we do team meetings, when we do strategy sessions, when we do feedback sessions, when we work collaboratively, we do so digitally. We don't have to be sitting in a room. And so, besides for the clients just being a little bit shocked by their future projection and how much work they want to do, everything else carried on as normal. So we were like a fish in water, and this is what happened. And for us, it was totally normal.
Yeah.
And so we've actually done better from a revenue perspective than last year. What was quite interesting was, so from a working perspective, there wasn't a difference, but then we had to just remind all the actuaries that our business is a lifestyle business for the actuaries. We promote for them to do yoga during the day. We're a lifestyle business for actuaries. Yeah. And so, we say, if you want to, because we're working more so from home, if you want to go and have lunch with your family, go and have lunch and watch the soccer match. But then you'll probably catch up some of that work from 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So COVID, we've been actually relatively unaffected. And I think it made the industry globally realize that the direction we're heading in was correct, and it sped that up. So, we're actually aiming towards actuaries consulting from home in virtual reality.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem as crazy anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think we've done okay during COVID, and we've managed, and now we have a globalization strategy which we're following through on. So yeah, we've been okay, but obviously a lot of compassion and broken heart for just people in general and what has happened and their finances. But we've been okay. We haven't had to lose anybody. We've picked up actuaries actually.
Okay. So another follow-up question that I wanted to ask. In a time of crisis, there's also opportunity. So my question is, what opportunities have you seen within the space, or just generally within your area of expertise, that virtual accuracy can expand into, or just the dimensions of that space, or any other? Because I think there's just there's just so much new markets that have been opened as a result of lockdown, as a result of COVID-19. So what do you see as being the opportunities in the midst of this crisis?
So thanks. It's a great question.
Yeah.
So I believe that as part of what we call the fourth industrial revolution, we are in the midst of the you as a brand world.
Yeah.
And not the corporate brand world.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we have influencers that are able to have a whole business by promoting and doing things, and they're not a business. So somebody who's an influencer will pick up a product and promote it, and that product will do fantastically well online. So what has happened is that because a lot of us are working more so digitally, the take home is that you need to have a digital online shop and presence. Who are you? What content are you putting out there? What do you represent? If people want to interact with you, how do they get hold of you? If they want to book you as a speaker, how do they get hold of you? If they want to buy your product, how do they get hold of you? How do they get to see what your products are? If you sell a service, how can they see what that service is? So websites like LinkedIn is an excellent example. It's not a social network. It is business online. Yeah. So we saw that quite a while ago, that the big insurer in Singapore doesn't need to cross the road to the big building across the road to hire actuaries from the big firm across the road that's going to charge them through the roof.
Yeah.
And the truth is they don't even see the people across the road because they probably deal with them digitally anyway. But once in a while, they will then have a sit down in the boardroom. So it's kind of like there's a human interaction where people shake hands, but for some reason that gives them the comfort that for the rest of the year, that I need to see them and they're across the road in the building. So I believe that now society has realized that we can still get the same quality of service interacting digitally with the same credibility, but it's okay if you don't meet them for that first time face to face. They've accepted that. So what has happened is that if you want to buy a product, it's okay if the person selling the service even is online, and now you will start to buy into their credibility factor online. So I think that anybody that is in any industry needs to learn to establish their credibility online. Because that means that you are not forced to establish your credibility face to face. People are willing to buy into the blog that you have and how many people you're connected with online and what kind of reviews have you got. And so as we now take our actuarial services globally, we've established an amazing network online. We have a team of actuaries that are world-class, literally world-class, and we have overseas clients as a result of that. So anybody kind of watching this should realize that they need to be putting content online. They need to have a LinkedIn or a Facebook page that is positive, optimistic, health conscious, because anybody that is going to interact with you as a business person is going to stumble upon your online presence. So we've got quite a nice online presence that has a nice credibility factor. And all that does is it means that people are willing to get hold of us to say, they look decent. Let's get hold of them. We've got work that needs to be done. We want to buy this product. So they'll get hold of us because we've already established the credibility factor that we can do the work and we're not going to just run away with the money.
Yeah.
And so it's a digital world now. And so you don't need somebody specifically to baby. We're in at the moment is the you as a brand world, but people look up to you, and now they want to consume what you are putting out. So it's kind of the same with us.
Okay. So, touching on the topic that you really wanted to have a conversation about. Yes. So you were talking about how the gap between 20s and 30s. All right. So we're talking about young professionals, 22 to 30-year-olds. What should, in your opinion, now should that demographic of humanity go through in order to figure out what it is that they want to do, and how to move forward along a career path, or just whether it's been business or entrepreneurship?
Right. So I was actually driving to the airport yesterday. I had to go fetch something, and I was in a bit of traffic, and I was kind of struck by how many times I put my foot on and off the accelerator. As you kind of nudging ahead with the cars in front of you, and you kind of governing it like that, and eventually you get to your destination. But I ask you, how many times do you think I kind of tap the accelerator gently? Probably 10,000 times, or I don't know, 5,000 times. I mean, it's just non-stop, where, it's endless in order to maneuver to get to the airport. I believe that people that are in their 20s want to be the successful business person, want to have the money in the bank, want to have the network. They want the end goal of being at the airport, but at the moment they're still stuck in the garage. And they still need to reverse, and think of how many times you're going to push your foot on the accelerator just to reverse out of the garage, just a few times, like maybe 3 or 4 times with the brake and the accelerator, just to reverse out of the garage. But they think that because they're in the car and they're ready to reverse, that they're already at the airport. Think of how much learning they still have to do by the time they get to the airport. So that's what happens when you're in your 20s until your mid-30s, that 15-year gap. That 15-year gap is not about being a business owner and having the ultimate house and playing golf on weekends because you've now made it, and showing off that you're so amazing because you're now a rock star. Yes, you'll have the 0.5% that get that right, and good for them. But the 99% of us, unfortunately, in our 20s and 30s, need to do one thing: work. Just work. Just get a job. Because you never really know where your life and your career is going to go. I didn't get a degree at university. I went into sales, I went into admin, I went into operational. So it's not a perfect progression. I'm going to be a lawyer. I've studied at university. I want to get a job. I'm an accountant. I'm an investment executive. I want to work at Deutsche Bank and RMB. Well, good for you if that's who you are. That wasn't my route. My route was, I know somebody who owns a factory that distributes caps, or they make gloves, and they need a delivery driver that's going to interact with the operational people to do that. Would you like the job? Yes, I would love the job. So what happens is, it's not that you now accept that for the rest of your life you're going to be a delivery driver or you're going to be the admin person, but it is, there's money that's paying my rent. I'm learning what it feels like when I rock up to deliver the product that someone has to sign. Oh, but I never got my delivery receipt. You guys didn't tell me that you were coming today. Oh, so you learn that when you're dealing with a client, you don't want to waste your time by getting there if they haven't received the notice that you're coming. So you have to be able to learn all of these lessons in all these other jobs along the way, that one day when you own a DHL, when you own this massive something express, and you have fleets of trucks and you have mechanics that you're dealing with, and you have the bank and the loans for all the vehicles, that by the time you have that massive company, you've learned that where you're wasting most of your money on petrol is in the fact that you didn't send notifications to the clients before the driver even arrived. Or the pens that you were using on the piece of paper, they stop working, so they're not able to write all the details correctly. So the people on the other side, they never quite get to see what that message says. So you have to have good quality pen. So all these things that people should be learning in their 20s and early 30s is any work whatsoever that pays the bills, and you're learning about just how business in general works, that somewhere along the line, someone has to go to the airport to clear the goods, clear the goods with customs. What is the process involved in clearing goods with customs? So you don't know where your career is going to go. And that's kind of like how I approached my 20s and 30s. I needed to survive, and I needed money to pay the rent and food and the telephone bill. And I didn't have any insurance whatsoever, besides for car insurance. But I enjoyed what I was doing. I was paying the bills, and I was learning about just work in general. Yeah. So that's what I think. I think that the most important thing is not to want to be glamorous, but to actually just get a job that's paying, and enjoying that and learning that and trying to progress in that business, so that if you do spot something somewhere else, you can change jobs. So what I've also got here, which I think is very important. So I didn't know this in my 20s, but I've got here, look up to good, hard-working people, not quick money hustlers. Because what's going to happen is if you're 25 years old or 26 years old, and you're now looking at this like flashy person that's got the cash and throwing and talking about massive developments of property, and they're laughing at you because they got all the girls or all the guys or whatever, and now you look at them and you're the guy that's working as a security guard, or you're the guy that now is their chaperone, or you're the person that's helping to arrange the travel arrangements. Don't look at them as a winner and you as a failure because they're flashy. You mustn't look up to those flashy people. So I had to learn that the hard way. Because if you look up to the flashy people and the quick money, then you will never be satisfied with slow money. And the real winning strategy is the slow money. So once you look up to those who have built up businesses for 5 or 10 years, where they have a factory and they redistribute and repackage clothing for one of the retailers, and it's a nice big factory, and it's slow money, but it's reliable. And over the space of 5 years, they've built up something that is reliable. Those are the people that you should be looking up to, is the slow money winners, because that's better. Because what you'll do is, if you do that, then you'll be satisfied with just learning and making slow money instead of just make or break. Because if you don't learn that lesson and you're always looking at the flashy people, then when you get to your 40s, you will have nothing. And then you'll realize that there was that really nice job, but you decided you were going to go overseas with so-and-so who was going to hire you for this building company, but that job never came through. But you had quite a good job. You were learning, you were doing nicely. So that's the one lesson, which I think is the slow money is the winning money. Yeah. And then also I've got here, learn to do it yourself. So let's say your mindset is that I've got this issue, I've got this problem, I need to try and sort out how my computer works, or I need to, someone has to clean the car. So you got to do it yourself. If you have a I'll learn to do it myself mentality, then it means that when you meet somebody who says, oh, well, let's wait for somebody to fix the gate before you can drive in, you say, hold on a second, let me see if I can try and do it myself. Because you never know when somebody spots you doing something and says, hold on, are you the gate guy, the guy that's fixing the gate, or are you the guy that's delivering the goods? Well, the gate was broken. There were some tools here. And I thought, let me try. And says, you know what? I actually work in a big gate manufacturing business. And I love your attitude. I would love for you aluminium and make gates. I'll pay you twice as much being the guy that manufactures aluminium gates. Why? It's because instead of sitting in the car and waiting for somebody somehow to fix the gate before you could deliver the goods, you decided that you will try and do it yourself. Because that's your personality, and now you've been hired as a gate manufacturing person. So that's my point, is you never quite know where it's going to go. But if your attitude is, I'm willing to learn and I'm willing to do it, and not that's not my job, that's for lower people, then if you got the right attitude, then opportunities will find you. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, the knowledge that you've shared. And I want to segue as well to let's talk about that dynamic of this facade of glamorization and the implications of mental health. I don't know if you were able to in your as coming into the digital age, but I know many young people suffer with the digital instability and the ideas of instant gratification and social media and that facade. So how would one go about doing that in terms of in relation to stress, burnout, mental health, and finding a way to align oneself in truth and moving steadily and progressively?
So I think it's important to present yourself and what you do in a nice way online. Okay. I don't think you should look like a total nerd online, although the nerds won in the end. Make no mistake. Like me, I went on a quest years ago to be a nerd. That was my quest. And I think I've succeeded, so I'm quite happy about that. But when it comes to your online persona and the things that you're involved in, be proud of the photos that you take, the fact that you're out doing walks, the fact that you managed to go to the beach on a holiday, and be proud to represent yourself in a nice way online where you're not complaining about stuff all the time, or you're not being rude to people when you comment about stuff. So you want to be known as the person online that always has a good thing to say. Not the person that's always like the complainer or rude or this is who I am. So you want to be the good person online who represents himself well. Now, it is unavoidable that you're going to see a lot of things that other people are doing and you're going to be jealous and it's going to make you depressed. It's unavoidable. Okay. But I think like the most important thing is that you must understand that you are on a journey of success. And that journey of success is not a quick journey. Okay. And try not to torture yourself by looking at other people and obsessing over what they're doing. And then you feeling like what you're doing is not good enough, because the reality is the people that you can look up to, it never ends. Like me, I don't go walk around Clifton and look at the amazing houses because it just depresses me. Like it depresses me that people have got all this stuff and I don't. So I don't torture myself. So it is unavoidable on social media to be looking at that stuff. Okay, it's unavoidable. Okay. But I think that if you are proud that you're on a slow journey of growth, then it doesn't really matter what other people are doing. And yes, people are going on holiday and some people have trust funds and some people have all the cash. You know, I also went through that. I don't have that stuff. I never had that stuff. And it's depressing to see them like, do these people not flip and work? Like, how come they're always on airplanes? How come they're always on holiday? How come she's always at the flipping gym drinking a Kauai? It pisses me off, you know? So it's just part of life of who we know and things. So that's going to be the one thing. But then I think that if it's all about the parties, and like I partied my ass off when I was in my 20s. Like I can't say to people don't party, don't go and have a jaw and sweating and dripping, and I can't say that because I did that myself. Okay. What I can say is that it is very important that you try and find work that has money coming in, and you're learning and you're working with nice people. And, I think that if you can be a person that has their own bank balance, and you're surviving and you're paying the rent and that kind of stuff, and you're growing in your business world, then you'll find, if you look back after 10 years, you've accomplished something. What you don't want to do in the evenings is get into the trap of only watching Netflix or only watching movies or only like going through that like a rabbit hole of videos on Facebook and stuff like that in your 20s, but maybe doing online courses in programming, or doing online courses in telecommunications and how to, in telesales, and how to present yourself on telephone calls and customer engagement. And so try not to get stuck in the trap of you hate what you do during the day, but at night you're just in this like pit of jealousy watching other people. It's a tricky one, but you have to force yourself in the evenings to do other stuff that's productive.
Yeah. I think, Adi, we've covered a lot. And I think we're well within the mark and the time of that was prescribed. So finally, I just like you to just give out your your handles, Virtual Accuracy website, if anybody wants to get in contact with you, so on and so forth.
Okay, thank you. So our website is virtualactuary.com. On Instagram, we are at Virtual Actuary. On Twitter, we're at Virtual Actuary. On everything, we're at Virtual Actuary. Facebook.com at Virtual Actuary. So that's our stuff. And the last thing I want to say is that, we are all on a journey of improvement.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you've got. If you're on a personal journey of improvement, then that is the most important thing, is that you're trying to progress day after day. You're trying to work with nice people day after day. I know they say that unfortunately chivalry is not what it used to be, integrity, chivalry. My rule is, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. So if someone says to you, like, I'm going to introduce you to somebody and you can work with them and I want to be involved, don't phone that person without including the original person, because that feels wrong and it is wrong. If you can have a life of being the person that has integrity, people want to work with you. You don't screw people over. People notice if you try and, so rather let people feel that from an integrity and business perspective, you're reliable, you rock up on time, you look smart, you're shaved, because if that is the case, then you can build the momentum with the people that you've worked with, that will hopefully then later on, as you progress with your life, they'll include you further on down the line as well. Oh, I worked with this person, very reliable, wonderful designer, really enjoyed working with them, and I'd like to include them in this project. Or the difference is, I don't know, like they phoned the client that I introduced them to without me. Hate that. Never going to use them again. So if you're going to do stuff like that, then people won't include you later on. So as I say, if you really want to, if it feels wrong, it is wrong. And if it feels right, then it's right. So that's kind of like a great principle that people will want to include you. And so that's what I think.
Adi, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And to the viewers, please do like, subscribe at the Reality Shift and at Lito Mboto on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and follow the conversation. Let's engage, let's grow, let's progress, let's shift our perspective and create our reality. From me, Lito Mboto, thank you so much for tuning in. Adi, thank you so much for coming on to the Reality Shift with me.
Awesome.
Appreciate you, buddy, man.